Welcome everyone to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a really important turn. We're shifting our focus a bit.
Yeah.
We're moving from that deep internal exploration we've been doing, understanding ourselves, to looking at our outward impact.
Ah, okay. That feels like a very natural next step in this whole Cognizant Life, the Art of Skillful Living series we did.
Exactly. It's a progression, right?
Definitely. Because, I mean, up to now, our deep dives into the Cognizant Life material have really zeroed in on understanding your own mind first.
Right, the inner toolkit.
Precisely. You know, cultivating things like insight, the clear seeing, and integrity, making sure your actions line up with your values, and awareness, just being present.
Foundational stuff.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And then we layered on the 7 habits, things like skillful adaptability, compassion. We talked about skillful communication, daily
That
practices.
all that internal work.
Yes. And the source is so clear, that deep internal commitment. It's the indispensable foundation. You really can't skip that part if you want to live skillfully.
Totally agree. We've definitely hammered that home, the personal evolution, that sometimes tough internal work, building
Yeah.
that robust inner operating system.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the pivot, and the Cognizant Life source really highlights this. Skillful living. It's almost never a solo gig,
Right. We might sometimes dream about being a hermit on a mountaintop.
especially after a chaotic Monday.
Exactly. But the truth is, humans are, as the book says, fundamentally wired for connection. Our well-being, feeling like we belong, even our physical health.
Yeah.
It's all profoundly linked to the quality of our relationship.
It's inescapable, really. You could be the most insightful person ever, but if you're bumping up against people constantly,
Something's missing. Connection can be, well, let's be honest, tricky. Full of misunderstandings, awkwardness, sometimes real conflict.
go for sure.
But it's vital. Absolutely vital for a rich life. The quality of those connections, it really shapes our joy, our purpose, our ability to make a difference.
Okay, so that sets the stage perfectly. Today's mission, then, is to really unpack Part 4, extending your impact from the Cognizant Life framework.
Got it.
Specifically, we're diving deep into Chapter 12, building aware relationships and communities, and then looking ahead with Chapter 13, the path forward, your lifelong journey.
So taking the inner work outwards.
That's the idea, bringing it all into the world, purposefully, skillfully.
And this deep dive, well, the promise here is to show how cultivating those internal qualities, the insight, integrity, awareness, the habits, the communication skills, how all that naturally flows into enriching your relationships, your communities.
Makes sense.
And also, crucially, how to see this whole thing not as like a finish line you cross.
Right, not a destination.
Exactly. But as a continuous journey, a compassionate process, which ultimately the source argues leads to a life that's more connected, more purposeful, and genuinely less lonely, bringing that inner wisdom fully out there.
Okay, let's unpack this. We just recapped the starting point, that crucial internal work. Understanding the mind, cultivating insight, integrity, awareness.
The 3 primary colors, as the book calls them, essential. Insight for clarity, integrity for value alignment, awareness for just noticing.
And then building on that with the 7 habits: adaptability, compassion plus skillful communication, daily practices, all that groundwork.
That inner commitment, the source really stresses, it's the indispensable foundation for everything that follows.
Right. And you said earlier, it's like trying to build on shifting sand otherwise.
That's a good way to put it. Without that inner alignment and strength, any attempts at outward impact can feel fragile, unsustainable. You might get results for a bit, but...
Leads to burnout or feeling fake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard to maintain if it's not coming from a solid inner place. Like that analogy you used running a marathon with rocks in your backpack.
Yeah, if your internal operating system is buggy, it's just inefficient, painful.
Precisely. So this shift to extending your impact, it really is the natural, almost inevitable next step. Applying all those qualities, awareness, integrity, wisdom, resilience to how you interact with others. Expressing your inner state outwardly.
Okay.
The book uses this fantastic analogy, a big old oak tree.
I like this one.
Its strength, its stability, how it weathers storms, provides shade, all of that comes from its deep, strong roots.
The hidden part.
Exactly, that internal work. Cultivating your core self. That's the roots, the indispensable foundation. And only with those deep, stable roots can the tree your life grow strong, stable, have that positive outer impact, provide shelter like a thriving tree in its ecosystem.
It's not just about surviving the storm then.
No, it's about flourishing because of the roots, contributing because you're grounded.
That's such a powerful image.
Yeah.
Makes you think about how we all want that stable impact even when we feel buffeted by life. So if the inner work is the roots, how does that natural lead us towards connection? Because like we said, despite those hermit fantasies.
Right, after a rough family dinner or a bad networking event.
Yeah. The truth is, our well-being, belonging, even physical health are just profoundly linked to the quality of our relationships. We're social animals.
It's fundamental. Our brains are literally wired for it. It's a survival thing, evolved over millennia. Feeling connected releases oxytocin, dopamine, the trust, bonding, pleasure chemicals.
And the opposite, loneliness.
It activates stress responses, can lead to chronic inflammation, health risks. So, yeah, connecting can be tricky, messy,
Definitely messy sometimes.
but it's vital for a fulfilling life, even a healthy one. The quality of those relationships, it's not just icing on the cake, it fundamentally shapes our human experience.
So it's more than just interacting them. The book talks about aware relationships and communities. What does that actually mean? Is it
Yeah.
just being nice?
Oh, it's much deeper than just being nice. The source describes them as ecosystems, places where people feel fundamentally safe.
Safe how?
Safe to be authentic, to speak their truth respectfully, of course, to take, appropriate interpersonal risks, to admit mistakes without getting blamed or shamed, to just show up as whole human beings.
Wow. Imagine that. No masks required.
Exactly. A space where vulnerability and honesty aren't just like tolerated, but actively welcomed, nurtured.
That sounds liberating, but also like a lot of work to create. So if people are being their whole selves, what does communication feel like in those spaces?
The communication is described as consistently open, honest, respectful, multi-directional, and skillful.
Multidirectional, so not just top down.
Not at all. It leads to clarity, understanding, real connection. It's not about everyone always agreeing, that's often fake anyway, but about truly effective exchange. Everyone feels heard, even in disagreement. Information flows.
That's huge. And how do people generally interact? What's the vibe?
Collaboration and mutual support are natural and valued modes of interacting. It's not driven by competition or self-interest, but by a genuine desire to uplift each other, work towards shared well-being.
And mistakes. What happens then?
That's key. Learning, growth, adaptation, and forgiveness are deeply embedded relational values. Mistakes aren't failures to be punished. They're seen as invaluable learning opportunities for the person, for the relationship, for the community.
So setbacks become setups for deeper understanding, allows for evolution.
Precisely. It builds resilience.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the goal is, individual and collective well-being is genuinely prioritized and supported.
Yeah, so?
It recognizes that healthy, engaged, thriving individuals create healthy, engaged, thriving relationships and communities. It's symbiotic. The health of the parts feeds the health of the whole.
A virtuous cycle. When you feel seen and supported, you contribute more positively. Okay, that makes total sense. So let's dig into the first pillar for actually building these aware relationships. Cultivating emotional safety as the bedrock. Why is this called out as the absolute prerequisite?
Well, think about it neurobiologically. Emotional safety is the absolute prerequisite for compassion to flourish and for trust to really take root. When our brain's threat detector, the amygdala, senses danger, even just social danger like judgment or shame, our prefrontal cortex kind of goes offline.
The rational part.
Yeah, the part responsible for empathy, trust, complex thought. We get defensive, rigid, less capable of real connection. So if we want compassion and trust, we have to create that felt sense of safety first. Otherwise, people stay guarded.
It's not just a nice to have then. It's biologically necessary for connection.
Absolutely.
So when emotional safety is there, what are the tangible benefits? What changes?
Well, first you get accelerated learning and growth. In a safe space, mistakes aren't hidden. They're surfaced, discussed with curiosity, reframed as invaluable learning opportunities.
Instead of something to be ashamed of.
Exactly. Imagine a team meeting where someone can say, oops, I messed this up, here's what I learned. That openness allows connections to adapt, deepen, become more resilient. You evolve together.
No more sweeping things under the rug. Fosters real feedback. What else?
Second, it deepens engagement and belonging. When people feel safe, they're way more committed, they know their voice matters, they can bring their whole authentic selves, strengths, weaknesses, doubts without fear.
They feel valued.
And that sense of belonging, it's a powerful motivator. People invest more of themselves. It's the difference between just showing up and being truly present and invested.
Shifts it from obligation to genuine connection.
Oh, okay.
And the third benefit.
Lastly, and this is huge, it allows for earlier problem resolution.
How so?
When people feel safe, they're far more likely to raise concerns about potential problems or unhealthy dynamics before these issues escalate. They won't just sit on resentment until it explodes.
They'll speak up sooner.
Right. Which saves relationships so much pain and damage down the line. You address things when they're still manageable, catching the small leak before it floods the place.
We actually have a great example of this from earlier in the Cognizant Life series, Maya's ethical choice. It really shows how individual integrity contributes to safety, even in tricky spots. Remind us.
Yeah, Maya's at a social gathering, right? And the conversation turns to gossiping about someone, Alex, who isn't there. Others are jumping in, being judgmental.
And Maya knows Alex, likes them, feels uncomfortable.
Right. And the typical, maybe less aware response, just stay quiet, feel awkward, maybe even join in a bit to fit in, even if it feels wrong. That pressure to belong.
Yeah, that's relatable.
But this is where Maya's inner work kicks in. She has that internal pause. She notices her discomfort, feels the internal conflict wanting to be liked versus her values of fairness, kindness.
That's the self-awareness and integrity shining through, feeling the dissonance.
Exactly. She reflects, this isn't right. Participating or even just being silent goes against my values. What's the skillful, integrity-aligned response here? How do I maintain my safety and maybe model it?
That internal check-in is key.
Yeah.
Pausing, reflecting, consciously choosing. So what did she do?
She didn't have to make a big scene or confront everyone. That might not have felt safe. Her choice was more subtle. Maybe she gently changed the subject.
Or excuse yourself.
Or just offered a neutral comment that didn't add fuel to the fire. By refusing to participate, she modeled a boundary. She protected her integrity and didn't validate the breach of safety. She acted with integrity, which is foundational to trust and safety.
Even if others didn't notice explicitly, she upheld her own internal state, didn't compromise for external validation.
That's the core of self-safety right there.
Which leads us perfectly into the second pillar, fostering open, honest, respectful communication. If safety is the ground, this kind of communication is like the air we breathe in these aware connections, right? The lifeblood.
Absolutely is. In aware relationships, information, feelings, needs, they flow freely, effectively. Without it, things just wither. Problems fester under the surface.
And feedback isn't seen as an attack.
No, it's seen as a valuable gift for growth, a chance to learn together. Even difficult conversations are handled skillfully, with a mutual desire for clarity, not just being right.
Okay, so what are the key practices for making this happen, beyond just talk more?
Well, a fundamental one we've discussed, but is crucial here. Active, empathetic listening.
Not just waiting to talk.
Exactly. It's going beyond passively hearing words. It's a conscious effort to understand the entire message. Listening for the explicit words, yes, but also the implicit meanings, the underlying emotions, the unstated needs or values.
Reading between the lines.
And asking clarifying questions, mirroring back what you heard, really trying to step into their shoes, listening to understand, not just to reply, even listening for the silence what isn't being said.
That's a big shift. What else is key for constructive communication?
Using I statements. This is classic, but so effective. Instead of, you make me angry.
Which immediately makes someone defensive.
Right, you say, I feel angry when X happens. It owns your feelings and your perspective without attacking or blaming. It invites collaboration rather than defensiveness, keeps the focus on the issue and your experience of it.
Like, I feel overwhelmed when the dishes pile up, and I'd appreciate help, instead of you never help out.
Exactly. Shifts from blame to understanding and potential solutions.
In clarity, how important is being specific?
Oh, vital. The book stresses specificity and concrete examples. Vague complaints like, you're so inconsiderate, they're useless, impossible to address.
Because what does that even mean?
Right. Instead, when our dinner was planned for 7 and you arrived at 7:41 without letting me know, I felt frustrated. Now you have something concrete to discuss. The behavior, the impact. It opens a path for resolution.
Makes sense. And it's not just the words, is it? The delivery matters hugely.
Totally. Mind your nonverbals, tone, facial expression, body language. They need to match your message. Congruence is key. Saying, I'm not angry with clenched fists doesn't work.
People read the nonverbals more often.
They do. And also, choose the right time and place. Don't bring up heavy stuff when you're both exhausted, rushed, or distracted, or right before bed. Set the stage for success. It shows respect.
Good point. What about conflict? It's bound to happen, but it doesn't have to destroy things, right?
You're absolutely right. Conflict is normal. It means people care, have different needs. Handled respectfully, it can actually strengthen connection.
Avoiding it can be worse sometimes. leads to resentment.
Exactly. The goal isn't avoidance, it's skillful navigation. Focus on the issue, not on attacking the person's character. No name-calling, no dredging up ancient history. Keep it specific. Move towards solutions, not just winning. Preserve the relationship while tackling the problem.
Now, a massive chunk of our communication is digital these days. The Wild West, the
Yeah.
book calls it. Why is that so tricky for aware communication?
Because it's a notorious breeding ground for misunderstandings. All that richness of tone, face, body language, gone.
So sarcasm lands badly. A short reply seems angry.
Easily. Nuance is lost. Intention gets misread all the time. Plus, it's often permanent. Hard to take back.
So how do we navigate this minefield given how much time we spend texting or emailing?
Simple advice, but powerful. Pause before you post or send, especially if you're feeling emotional. Breathe. Reread it. Is this really how you want it to sound?
And the tip about reading it aloud.
Yes. Read your message aloud before sending. How does it actually sound? Could the tone be misread? Emojis can help sometimes, used wisely, but don't rely on them for sensitive stuff. A smiley face doesn't fix a harsh text.
That read aloud trick is brilliant, immediately flags potential issues. And the golden rule for big stuff.
For anything important, sensitive, complex, or potentially contentious, strongly consider picking up the phone, or talking in person, or at least video call.
Wow.
Because some conversations just need the nuance and real-time feedback that text lacks. You hear inflections, see reactions, adjust on the fly. Trying to resolve major conflicts via text, it rarely ends well. Often makes things worse. Voice or face-to-face allows for that essential human connection and empathy.
That brings us to the Sarah and Liam example from the book. It really shows skillful communication in action, especially around boundaries.
Yeah, this is a great illustration. Liam, Sarah's friend, is constantly calling her, unloading his problems. It's taking a toll on her energy.
She feels drained.
Right, so Sarah does that internal pause. Self-awareness kicks in. She notices her exhaustion, resentment, even guilt about feeling resentful. Insight. Her current approach isn't sustainable for her. Her intention shifts from just being there no matter what to finding a way that's supportive for Liam and sustainable for her.
That's the crucial internal check, balancing her values of friendship with her own needs. Self-compassion meets integrity.
Exactly. So she decides to communicate. With empathy, authenticity, clarity, she chooses a calm time, not during a crisis call.
Okay.
And she might say something like, Liam, I care about you so much, and I know things are tough. I want to support you. And I've noticed our recent calls focusing on these intense challenges leave me feeling quite depleted afterwards, which makes it hard for me to be the friend I want to be long term.
Using those I statements perfectly. Owning her feelings,
No.
not blaming him, inviting him into a conversation about the relationship.
Yes. And then the wisdom part. Proposing constructive solutions. I'm wondering how I can best support you moving forward. Maybe shorter, focused chat, say 20 minutes. Or maybe we could also do something enjoyable together sometimes, like grab coffee, just to lighten things up.
So it's not withdrawing support, it's renegotiating for healthier support,
Yeah.
offering options.
Exactly. Empowering him to be part of the solution, too.
And the outcome in the example. Because these conversations can be tough.
In the source, the outcome is positive. Liam, maybe surprised at first, appreciates her honesty. He feels respected because she was compassionate and clear about wanting to maintain the friendship.
So it actually strengthens things.
It gives the friendship a chance to become healthier, more balanced for both of them. Built on mutual respect, clear communication, it shows addressing issues skillfully, head-on, can deepen connection.
Fantastic example. Okay, pillar 3. Nurturing truly collaborative and supportive relationships. Beyond crisis management, how do we weave this into everyday life?
This is about actively nurturing your connections, recognizing, really feeling that profound truth of our interconnectedness. It means consciously investing time and energy.
Like tending a garden.
Exactly. Building and maintaining relationships that feel genuinely supportive, enriching, mutual. It's ongoing care.
And it's not just about getting support, but giving it. A two-way street.
Oh, absolutely. Finding joy in contributing to the well-being of others. Offering support, yes, but also celebrating their successes with genuine happiness.
That sympathetic joy or mutual idea.
Yes, the opposite of envy. Genuinely feeling happy for someone else's good fortune. It's also about generosity of spirit, just being a kind, reliable, positive presence, remembering we're an ecosystem.
That mujeta concept feels really powerful, shifting from comparison to shared joy. So what are some concrete, practical ways to be supportive and nurture relationships?
Well, one is incredibly fundamental, yet As the book says, astonishing how often overlooked. It's simply, do what you say you will do, DWIC, or
So simple.
trivially simple, but it builds unshakable trust. Every time you follow through, call back, meet the deadline, show up on time, you make a deposit to the trust bank.
And breaking promises.
That's a withdrawal. Consistency builds reliability. People learn they can count on you. It's the silent language of integrity.
That makes total sense. Reliability is bedrock. What's another practical tip?
Offer a specific helping hand instead of the vague, let me know if I can do anything.
Which puts the burden on the person struggling.
Exactly. They might be too overwhelmed or embarrassed to ask. So offer concrete help. I'm going to the store. Need anything? Can I drop off dinner tomorrow? I've got an hour Tuesday. Want help with that garage? Specific offers are easier to accept and show tangible care. Removes the friction.
It's really thoughtful. Turns good intentions into actual support.
Yeah.
And simple appreciation.
Immense power there. The power of simple appreciation. Actively notice the good in others and acknowledge it. Don't just think it, say it. I really appreciate how organized you are. That presentation was so clear. Great job. Thanks for listening earlier. That really helped. These small expressions brighten days, validate efforts, strengthen bonds, cost nothing, mean so much, create positive vibes.
It really ties together. It feels like engagement, the overall toolkit piece here, pulls in all the other components we've learned about.
Absolutely. Meaningful connection needs present moment awareness, truly being there, listening.
Not checking your phone.
Right. It needs wisdom for compassionate communication, especially in conflict. Seeking understanding, not winning.
And authenticity. You have to be real.
Crucial. Engagement thrives on authenticity. Genuine trust needs truthfulness, letting people see the real you. And finally, resilience. Relationships hit bumps, misunderstandings, hurt feelings. You need resilience to navigate those without causing lasting damage. Lean in, don't retreat.
So really is the culmination. This whole section drives home that skillful living is rarely a solo performance. It's usually a collaborative ensemble piece. We need each other.
Exactly. By working on trust, compassion, nurturing connections, we don't just improve our relationships, we profoundly enrich our own lives. Make them more connected, purposeful, less lonely. It's about showing up for each other. That's what makes it all worthwhile, more joyful.
Which brings us beautifully to the final section, the path forward, your lifelong journey, embracing the wabi-sabi of life. What a great concept for reflecting on this whole process.
It really is, and this section has such a core, reassuring message. Practicing cognizant life art, it isn't about achieving perfection.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Right. It's not about reaching some mystical perfect state or feeling blissful 24/7. That misconception causes so much self-criticism and guilt, makes people give up.
Because life is messy. We mess up. We have off days.
Totally. The book acknowledges reality. There will be days you feel in flow, connected, insightful, acting with integrity feels easy. Savor those. Acknowledge your growth. But there will also be days when old habits resurface, when stress clouds your judgment, or when you react impulsively. You snap. You fall into old patterns. And the key insight that this is perfectly normal. It doesn't mean failure. It means you're human.
That is reassuring.
Yeah.
So if it's not about perfection, what is it about? The book mentions the willingness to return.
Yes, that's the real practice, the art part. The willingness to return again and again with kindness and perseverance to your core intention.
So noticing when you've strayed.
Maybe you gossiped, communicated badly, felt disconnected, and then with self-compassion, not self-blame, you gently guide yourself back. It's a gentle redirection. Each time you consciously choose an aware, insightful, integrity-filled response over a reactive one, you're strengthening that capacity, building new pathways.
So those slip-ups become practice opportunities, not failures. Which connects perfectly to that Japanese idea of wabi-sabi. Explain that a bit.
Yeah, wabi-sabi. It's this aesthetic philosophy about finding beauty in things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete.
Like a cracked teacup.
Exactly. Maybe one that's been lovingly repaired with gold lacquer, that kintsugi technique. Its beauty isn't despite the cracks. It's even more beautiful because of its history, its imperfection. The repairs tell its story, show its resilience.
So applying that to ourselves, our own cracks are repairs. They're part of our beauty, not flaws to hide.
Precisely. Embrace your full humanity. You'll have days you feel like you're totally nailing it and days you feel like that bewildered toddler again. Both are okay, both valid parts of the process. The goal isn't to eliminate all your rough edges or sand down all your imperfections into some bland, perfect version of you.
Because that's impossible anyway.
Yeah.
And probably boring.
Right. leads to constant frustration.
So what is the goal then with this wabi-sabi view?
It's learning to work with your full humanity, your quirks, your vulnerabilities, your strengths, your shadows, with ever-increasing awareness, skill, kindness, and importantly, self-compassion. Integrating all of yourself, not trying to get rid of the unskillful parts.
So when you mess up, it's curiosity, not shame.
Exactly. What can I learn? And self-compassion. I did my best, I'll try again. It's a gentle, continuous unfolding, accepting you're a beautiful work in progress.
And the book reminds us not to forget humor. That feels crucial.
Oh, absolutely. Humor is a superpower here, too. Life is often deeply absurd, isn't it? Full of curveballs, ironies, just baffling moments.
Definitely.
Learning to laugh gently at its curveballs and at ourselves is so vital for keeping perspective and staying buoyant. Finding humor in your own stumbles or a frustrating situation, it diffuses tension, builds resilience, reminds you not to take it all so seriously. It's a sign of deep, kind self-awareness.
A great reminder, lightens the load, and the book ends by bringing it all back to the present moment.
Yes. The final thought is simple, profound. The journey indeed starts and joyfully continues, and now.
Right here.
Always. The present moment is always where engagement and growth happen. No need to wait for the perfect time or mood. Each now is the opportunity. The art of skillful living isn't something you achieve later. It's something you are right now.
Wow. This deep dive has really illuminated the value of taking that inner work, all the awareness, integrity, the skills, and extending it into our relationships, our communities, recognizing how interconnected we are.
It shows our personal evolution isn't just for us. It's amplified, enriched by how we connect with others. It's about showing up fully.
For ourselves and for each other.
And this continuous journey, awareness, skill, kindness, self-compassion, it really does empower you to navigate life's messiness with more grace, more connection. It's an ongoing art project. You're the artist in the masterpiece. Every choice, every interaction is a brushstroke.
So maybe something for you, the listener, to think about as you move forward from this deep dive.
Yeah.
Consider one relationship in your life. Just one. Where could you practice showing up with maybe even a touch more emotional safety or perhaps some more genuine appreciation this week? What small, specific action could you take? Maybe offer that specific helping hand we talked about. Use a clear I statement. Or just voice a sincere, specific thank you. Just one small thing to strengthen that connection, knowing your own skillful living ripples outwards.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into living skillfully. We really hope you continue your own vibrant, authentic work of art starting right here, right now.